and welcome back to the Chronic Health Diaries. If you're new here, my name is Ellie and I make videos all about how to feel your best self regardless of any chronic illness. Today we're doing a Crohn's disease kind of Q&A vloggy while I cook situation, because I realised since I've started this channel I've talked probably about food and running and exercise and general lifestyle, but I haven't actually talked about Crohn's disease, which is the entire reason that I started this channel, because I felt like no one's really talking about it or showing the life that you can have and amendments you can make that make you feel better. So that's what I'm going to do today whilst I cook. So I'm making the most simple chicken kebab fakeaway situation for dinner because it's a Friday night and we really want something tasty. But if you have any form of stomach issue, you will know that takeaways can be a bit tough with garlic and onion and all these fun things. So I'm doing a super simple dinner. All the ingredients and method will be in the description below. It's gluten-free, it's dairy-free, pretty much low FODMAP, but I'll put any amendments in the description. So let's get straight into the questions while I make my dinner. Okay, so what were the biggest giveaways that made me think I need to get checked? It kind of went on, honestly, for about 2 years until I was diagnosed with Crohn's. So when I was like 15, I had to take a long time out of school because, sorry if you hate raw chicken, by the way, I am cutting raw chicken straight into the pan. I was getting super tired all the time and just feeling really sick. I wasn't being sick or anything, I just felt super sick all the time. Went to GPs, had a load of time off school, this was secondary school at the time, and they were like, are you being bullied? It's stress. And my parents were like, I don't think it is. Like, I mean, I've always been high maintenance, but like I wasn't stressed, like I didn't find school hard or anything. Wasn't that, I had friends, I was happy. Anyways, this went on for another year. I was just feeling really tired all the time, didn't really have any answers. We tried things like having fibre gels, like these super high fibre sachets, which now we know what's wrong with me, it was like the worst thing we could have done. But a year later, it started getting really bad and it happened really quickly. I was on a music course at the time, and over the past few weeks leading up to that, I was having like really bad sickness, really bad diarrhea. It was happening all the time. My weight was dropping really quick. I lost like a stone in 2 weeks. It started happening really quickly. And then I started seeing blood when I went to the toilet. And that is when the alarm bells like super started ringing. And from there, things happened really quickly. And I went and had a colonoscopy. And that's when I was diagnosed with Crohn's disease. So yeah, the big tiredness and the feeling sick all the time, and then trying to cut out food groups and not making any difference was like the first kind of warning sign. And then when I started seeing blood in the toilet and all the weight loss, that's when it was like really bad, and I went downhill very, very quickly. So how is Crohn's disease officially diagnosed? This question kind of leads on from what I was saying on the last one. So Crohn's disease is part of like the umbrella of irritable bowel disease. So ulcerative colitis is also in that. And they have very similar symptoms and are diagnosed in a similar way. So there were a few steps to get my diagnosis. One was blood tests, where they check the kind of inflammation levels in your body, in your blood. Then there are stool samples where they can literally check the inflammation levels kind of in your gut through a stool sample. And then colonoscopy is the big one, because they can literally see like the ulcerations in your gut, and they can take biopsies and analyse those as well. I also, so after I'd had the colonoscopy and they knew it was Crohn's disease, I then had an endoscopy. So one is through the rear end, endoscopy is through your mouth, and that was to check how widespread the Crohn's was, because ulcerative colitis, my understanding is it's more in your intestines, whereas Crohn's disease can be anywhere from your esophagus, literally right the way down. So then I had an endoscopy to check that it wasn't up there, basically. So what is a colonoscopy? What is it like? Does it hurt? So there are different options for how you can have a colonoscopy. I've always had mine with sedation, painkillers, gas and air, the lot. You can do it, like they will offer it to you without sedation. And I think that is a mark of like, it's not fun, but if they're saying it's doable without sedation, to me that kind of gave me an indication that like it's not as bad as you might think it is. I would say the prep the day before the colonoscopy is much worse than the thing itself. So you drink like, it's like 1 to 2 litres of laxatives, because your bowels have to be completely clear for them to see what's going on. So that is definitely like the nastiest bit. You can't eat for 24 hours before either, which I love food, so that was really tough for me. The actual thing itself, to be honest, see, by the time you get to colonoscopy, you're so tired and you're so hungry. I feel like you're just kind of not that fussed about things anymore. Like for me, it's just like getting a cannula in and stuff. Like I don't really like that. I have to have them I have a colonoscopy every 2 years now. For me, that's the bad bit, but does it hurt? There are moments sometimes, from what I remember, because remember I've been sedated, so you're kind of really out of it. There are little moments where I've been like, oh, that's uncomfortable. I would take more gas in there and essentially pass out. And then when you wake up after, no pain, just a bit of air because they've essentially pumped air into your stomach to be able to see what's going on. Will I always have Crohn's disease and is there a cure? This is like, it's kind of a sad question because yes, I will always have it and no, there is not a cure at the moment, which I found really tough at the beginning to get my head around, that there wasn't a cure. But as I've adapted my lifestyle and I feel so much better and feel way healthier actually in some ways than pre-becoming ill, I'm okay with it. But no, there is not a cure currently, but from what I've understood from the research, they're making mega progress, and also they just know so much better like how to treat it now, and also lifestyle things you can do to feel better. So I love this question that is, can you still exercise with Crohn, and if so, what considerations do you need? 110% you can still exercise with Crohn's disease. I would so actively advise it if you are in a place where you are feeling healthy. So what I mean by that is, well, A, there's so many different forms of exercise and different forms of movement, and throughout being ill, that what a lot of exercise looks like to me has changed. So I did a whole other video on like how my exercise has changed over the years and what I do now, so if you're interested, I will link that video. But yes, you absolutely can. When I was first really poorly, I wasn't even really thinking about exercise because when I was first diagnosed, I was in and out of hospital all the time. I was really, really unwell. But actually now I'm feeling much better and I'm on medication at work. To me, exercise makes me feel so much better. If I wake up and I'm feeling really sick, really bloated, really uncomfortable, movement helps me. So whether that's walking, playing tennis, swimming, gym, running, like 100% you can exercise. I know that obviously the official guidance will always be like, take the advice of your doctor, and you should, but I would say when you get to a place where you can feel like you can do a little walk or a gentle bit of yoga, 100% give it a go, because mentally as well, it's an absolute game changer. Do you have to take medication if you have Crohn's? Look, I guess it's like any health condition, you need to do what's best for you in the moment. So Crohn's can be life-threatening if you don't get it under control. I have trialled a lot of different medication over the time that I've been unwell. So I've been on very, very strong medication at the beginning when I couldn't get it under control. And over the past 7 years, I've kind of been able to come down and like the severity of the medication I'm on. So I initially had loads of steroids just to get it under control. And those things are brutal on your body. You feel dreadful, you put on a load of weight. Like, it's really not a fun time, but sometimes it's just needed. I then went on to azathioprine, which is an immunosuppressant drug, and that did its job. It did what it needs to do, but I never had the view that I wanted to be on that long term if I could avoid it, because there were side effects, there were increased risks of some other serious things. It's all a balancing act when you're coming to kind of understanding your medication, but given that it was an immunosuppressant, if I picked up like a chest infection, that would be way more severe for me than someone who wasn't on an immunosuppressant, because my body couldn't fight it the way it needed to. And I found that quite anxiety inducing. So yes, I needed that medication at the time to get my Crohn's under control, but being on that gave me like the biggest boost to see how I could kind of help heal myself with health in terms of food and exercise, so that I could come down a grade in medication. So now I'm still technically on a form of immunosuppressant, but it's much weaker. So I'm on something called Salifalc at the moment, and I feel better. I don't have as many horrible side effects, and I honestly, like, I feel like I need to give myself more of a pat on the back, because I think I've got to the point where I can have that medication because I really, really look after myself now. And now it's a combined approach of medication, food, like general well-being. And yeah, my ultimate goal is to not need medication, but I'm just going to do whatever I need to do to keep my Crohn's in remission at the time, because the last thing you want to do is your disease come out of remission, because each time you flare, the stress in your body is just obviously really not good. Okay, I don't want my friends to think any differently of me. How do I tell them I have Crohn's? I mean, look, if they're like, say your actual friends and they think differently of you because you've got this disease, and like, lose them quickly. My experience was actually like my friends and family. I think there was almost a sense of relief when they found out what I had, because for the months leading up to my diagnosis, obviously they knew that I was so unwell. I was just dropping all this weight. We couldn't control it. We didn't know what was going on. We didn't know how sinister it was. So actually it was like a relief almost to know what I had. I think it can be a tough conversation in other areas, like with employers and things like that, but it's just about navigating it. I just try and own it. Like, I will say it's like my superpower, because it gives me so much drive, and like I say, it's maybe the healthiest I've ever been. So people think differently of you, like, lose them ASAP. I literally keep jumping the gun with these questions. The next one is, should I tell my boss at work I don't want them to think I'm weak or incapable? I really struggled with this when I first went into kind of full-time employment, because a lot of the time when I've been diagnosed, I have been in education. I've been doing my degree and then my master's. So I did tell them at the time when I was at uni, but it felt very different to telling an employer who is literally paying you to do a job. You need to tell them, and I would say you want to tell them straight away, because it's very similar to what I say about going to uni. You don't want to wait until you're absolutely in the pits and feeling terrible, and then have to have the conversation when you're already feeling rubbish about the adjustments that you maybe need made. Legally, they can't fire you, they can't treat you any differently. They absolutely have an obligation to make adjustments for you. So I get that it's scary. It's something I still struggle with now, I think, because sometimes like I need to have more home days than office days because I'm really struggling with it. I work in sales, it's super fast paced, it's long hours, and sometimes that does affect my Crohn's because tiredness is an absolute trigger. So I do have these worries sometimes that I stunt my growth by having to have these adjustments. But do you know what? If you are getting the job done, I think it's almost like more impressive. Like, if you can keep up in corporate world or whatever job you're in with the addition of this, like, to me as an employer, I'd be like, that's so impressive. Like, what a way to show that you've overcome adversity. Does Crohn's disease impact my sleep? It's a good question. Sometimes yes. So when I've had a night where I've maybe eaten what I shouldn't, or I'm just having a day where I'm really struggling with my Crohn's, I do wake up in a lot of pain. I often can feel when those nights are coming, so I will actually go to bed having taken paracetamol, and I'll have like one of those long hot water bottles. I wouldn't say it actively affects my sleep a lot of the time. It did when I was on steroids, but that was a side effect of the steroids, not the disease itself. I would say it's absolutely made me prioritize sleep though, because tiredness is, like, for me, the biggest trigger to flaring. So I just see sleep as like the most important thing over basically anything else. But no, I wouldn't say it actively affects my sleep. One thing that I also think's helped is I do intermittent fast. So I try and not eat past 6, and then I'll probably start eating again at like 9 the next morning. I don't do this for weight loss or any other reason apart from it gives my digestive system time to process and rest, so that by the time I'm going to bed, I'm not actually trying to digest food, because that's often when I'm uncomfortable. I love a question about food. So how much do I need to change my diet, and are there gut healing foods? So to be honest, I kind of almost can't remember how I ate pre-Crohn's. Yes, I have changed my diet. I did the low FODMAP diet like 2 years ago. I've got a video on that one as well. I'm not just plugging my own videos, it's just easier than me explaining all over again. And off the back of that, I did find out there were quite a few foods that didn't agree with me. So yes, you probably do need to change the way you eat. The most common ones that people, like nearly everyone shares with a stomach condition, are garlic and onion are huge flares. So taking those out your diet is always a really good first step. And then anything else, I'm a very big advocate of don't take anything out your diet unless you have to. Like, there's a fad of just like not eating gluten because it's, I don't know why, But everyone seems to be doing it without actually knowing if they're intolerant to it. So whilst you do probably need to change your diet, that needs to be over a process of experimenting with learning what works for you and what doesn't work for you, not just listening to someone like me going, gluten doesn't work for me, so therefore you stop eating gluten. Don't do that. Work it out for yourself through low FODMAP diets, work with nutritionists. I do try and share as much helpful information on this page of what's worked for me and what hasn't worked for me, but it's such an individual thing. Are there gut healing foods? There is no such thing as something that's going to magically heal your gut. Don't buy it. Don't buy the supplement, because they're just taking your money because it's such a thing at the moment. What you can do is try and increase the diversity of your gut microbiome, and you can do that through lots of different foods. That is going to be my video next week. So things like fermented foods, trying to get a really big variation in the plants in your diet and seeds, things like that. Kimchi, kefir yogurt, that's another good one. So it's more about just trying to eat as diverse a range of food as possible, and if fibre works for you, that also is very good for gut health. But I would say for about 3 years I had to eat a complete low fibre diet to feel better. So I feel like that's an unhelpful answer, but it is just so specific. What are my top 3 tips for someone that might be living with Crohn's disease? That's so hard. Do you know what? I know this sounds a really odd one. One of them is work as hard as you can, whether that be mindfulness or exercise, whatever, to learn to trust your body, because I think I will always say my anxiety over my Crohn's has made me more ill than my actual Crohn's ever has, because I'd say the past 7 years I've been diagnosed, if I look back on that and what springs out as being tough, I'll say the absolute mental battle, the anxiety, the really, really low moments. And I think a lot of that has come from, even when I'm better, even now I'm like expecting myself to be ill because that's where I've been, when actually I've worked so hard to build a healthier body that I'm okay. It's just taken me so much work to trust that and actually live in this healthy body and feel gratitude for it. So I think if you can learn to trust your body again, like that's when you'll just start like achieving amazing things. My second tip, I took too long to see a nutritionist. I didn't push for it enough at the beginning, so absolutely one of my top tips is to push to see one, because diet is a huge part of it. And my personal experience was the doctors would push me away with medication far too quick without us being like, but what are the lifestyle things we can do? Now I take a very different approach whenever I see a doctor, whether that be for my Crohn's or something else. If someone hands me medication, I'll be like, can I also understand what, like from a holistic perspective, what else can I do? I wish I'd done that earlier on with Crohn's disease. My third tip. I know I sound like I just harp on about exercise, but I think my third tip would be try and find a way to move your body that you enjoy, because like the stronger you are, like with your muscles, like strength training, the fitter you are, kind of the more robust your body can be. And obviously this needs to be sensitive to what, like honouring where your body is right now. But if you can find a way to get into any form of movement that you enjoy, I think it's just an absolute game changer. That's where I've seen the biggest change in my health journey. Oh, I love this. So despite having Crohn's disease, what are my lifestyle fitness work goals for 2024? Also, it's time to assemble our Fakeaway Kebab pitters, and like, oh, I'm so excited for this. I hope you can see how simple this is, but actually how tasty it is. What are my goals? So fitness-wise, I've got a half marathon in June, and I would like, so I've run one half marathon before, and like it was such a big achievement for me. I was very emotional that I'd managed to get my body to a point where I could actually like run a half marathon. I'd signed up to 3 half marathons before then, had to pull out of all of them because I was ill. So this year, now I know my body can do it, now I know my body's feeling good, I really want to try and push for a PB in my half marathon. So that's like a big fitness goal. This one's going to sound silly. I want to be able to do a pull-up this year. It's been too long that I've not been able to. I've been doing for a while. That's a big fitness goal. From like a well-being point of view, a big goal I guess is just to like be more present in the moment. I'm always, my mind goes, I don't give myself time just to sit down and be present. So through mindfulness, through meditation, through journaling, through gratitude, I want to be more aware of that this year and just try and enjoy where I am right now, because I always think like if I look back 2-3 years ago and saw where I am now, I'd be like, that's dream me. I am dream me 3 years ago and I don't appreciate it. So yeah, just learning to live in the moment. Then from a work point of view, I'm really, really enjoying just trying to build a community on YouTube, on Instagram. I have like my very big goal for those things right now is I really want to release a podcast, kind of linked to running, but basically we moved in October and we don't live anywhere near London now, away from our friends, and everyone is going to run clubs in London. I think run clubs are amazing, but you can only get run clubs in big cities, and I feel like I'm missing out, and I know I'm not the only one. So I'd love to create a podcast that's like a run club in your ears. So every Saturday you can run and listen to me, and my partner will host it, and it'll be like just literally like the chat you would have in a run club, like how weeks have been, interesting things we've learned that week. I'd love to get people on the podcast that have kind of overcome adversity and found running as an outlet, like get some really interesting people on there. That's my big kind of, I guess, work goal for 2024. I do actually have like a proper full-time job, but we're just not going to talk about that. Can I still enjoy life living with Crohn's? Yes. I'm the happiest I have ever been, and I'm 7 years into diagnosis. Like, yes, I'm so proud of myself. I think it's a huge driver to some of my goals. I definitely have a very, very strong work ethic, and I think it's because I knew the place I was in when I couldn't work, when I couldn't smash my goals, and now I'm in a place I feel so driven. I feel so grateful for my body. I value my relationships so much, because you do have a view of like things can slip really quickly, and that's quite scary. So yeah, I genuinely can hand on heart say that I feel so happy. I'm not saying that's the way it's always been. I've had some really, really tough times, but if you're in that place now, you can be where I am. You can be feeling your best self. You can have goals. You can achieve literally anything. Like, yes, it's part of your identity, but it's not your whole identity. It's literally just like an added superpower. Okay, so we've made dinner, and that is the end of the Q&A. I don't feel like this view is going to do justice to how amazing this looks. So we've got peri-peri chicken, lettuce, tomato, cucumber, mint yogurt. I'm so excited to go and eat this. So I'm gonna leave you there so me and Dan can eat this in peace. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it was helpful. If it was, let me know. I just want to help everyone feel better. So if you have any ideas for what you want to see next, please let me know. Like and subscribe, all that good stuff, because I'm a very new channel, but that kind of thing really helps. I chat so much waffle on Instagram. I'm documenting my journey to my half marathon, so if you want to follow along, I'll leave the link in the description to my socials. But have an amazing week, and I will